and welcome to today's stream. We're back after our birthday antics yesterday, carrying on with some painting. What have you got on your desk, Jay?
Hi everyone. I'm painting Lumineth again. So yesterday I got the cloth and the white armor down. So today it's all about the gold trim on the wardens.
Amazing. Well, I am continuing with the bats and the rats. So I don't know if you can see that, but the bats are pretty much there now. So really just need to finish the base on them. And the same with the bats as well. Quite a simple scheme. I used Nick Baton's YouTube video to get those, and yeah, really happy with how they've turned out.
I've not seen any of the Curse City painting videos actually, but I do like the Warhammer TV painting videos. There's a new member, isn't there? They've expanded the team now.
Yeah, Louise Sugden, painting legend, is on there as well.
Was it Louise Sugden who painted the Tzeentch Demon?
Yeah, the negative Tzeentch Demon of madness.
That was awesome. I mean, what a really cool idea, but it actually turned out really, really smart.
It's so cool. It's so cool. So yeah, looking forward to seeing what she can do. We've got some people in the chat. I can see Andy Woods. How you doing, Andy? Scrivo as well. Good to see you over on Twitch. Make sure to drop us a cheeky follow if you want to get notified when we do stream in future. What are you guys painting? You up to anything exciting? I see you've got a bumper assortment of pre-orders next weekend, Jay.
Oh yeah, it's been weird, hasn't it, not having any for a while. Those orcs, I think they're really, really cool. I mean, I did like them when I first saw them, but they're nice models, the Savage Orcs.
Yeah. Oh, cheers for the follow, Scrivo. Cheers, matey. Yeah, they look really good. I've had a bit of a mission, haven't I, to paint up every Underworld's warband this season, so I'll definitely be picking up those and yeah, giving them a go. Yeah, I really like the look of the new Necromunda starter box. Obviously, Dark Uprising was a really cool set, but a little bit on the pricey side for maybe people kind of new into the game. You did get a load of terrain in there, so you've got like a nice compromise in that new starter box with 2 gangs, full rules, and then a small amount of Zone Mortalis board to kind of fill one tile. I think that's a pretty good entry point.
Cool.
So yeah, and then obviously we've got the big Warhammer Fest antics this week as well. So yeah, absolutely looking forward to seeing what we get there. In fact, the first one's tomorrow, isn't it? Age of Sigmar.
It is, yeah.
That'd be cool.
I'm expecting
missing the streams. Well, you know, now you're following. Hopefully you catch us in future. Normally we would have Dave with us. Unfortunately, he can't join us tonight, so you've just got me and Jay, I'm afraid. In fact, if Dave was on, he'd probably be painting Skaven. So any regulars in the chat over on YouTube as well, yeah, you know that Dave tends to bounce between projects. It was only last week or the week before he was definitely just doing ogres, wasn't it?
yes.
It seems that in the last however long it's been, the last 24 hours since the last stream, he's actually started a Skaven army.
I think it was Thankwall on the stream.
I think
yesterday.
Thankwall. Thank you in. I don't think he's watching. Yeah, Thankwall pretty much inspired him to start a Skaven army. I mean, we've said Dave should have bought that starter box. What was it called? The Flesh Eater Courts one.
Yeah, what was that called? Can't remember now. It's a long time ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, but that was a really good box, wasn't it? With the
Carrion something, was it?
Carrion Empire. And we were at the show when that was revealed, and he was going to pick it up. And I don't know why he didn't in the end. Maybe I think he maybe thought if it's Skaven, you've got a lot of units, so it's a bit of a pricey army to do. So I think that put him off painting all those Skaven. But obviously contrasts come out since then, so I think Dave's kind of a bit more optimistic on getting a big Skaven army painted. So yeah, looking forward to seeing that. We've got Grim Dan in the chat. How you doing? And Anonymous Rex over on YouTube as well. Looks like it's going to be a lot of releases teased. Well, yeah, they've got a whole week of it. Now, we don't know how long they're kind of streaming for each day. I assume it's kind of... See, normally Warhammer TV will be on 5 till 7, and the reveals are at 6 o'clock. So I don't know if it's an hour or 2 hours of reveals. they might just do an hour each night. I mean, that's still how many? That's 6 days of it. So 6 hours of reveals is a lot, even compared to some of the massive kind of reveals that we've had recently.
Yeah, so actually, that's a good point, putting it in that sort of, because yeah, it's only like a 2-hour, 2.5-hour show, isn't it? The online previews, but this is 6 of those. So even like say, even if it's only an hour a night, it's still double what you'd normally. Yeah. They've got to fill that time with something. It's gonna be it's interesting.
Maybe we'll see some interviews as well. So that's interesting.
Okay.
I really liked when they did the 40k one. They had quite a few interviews with the kind of design team, which is really interesting. I like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You get a bit of an insight into rules changes and stuff before they're kind of officially announced, don't you? Gotta say, Joe, I really enjoyed painting these bats and rats. I'd kind of put them off, and I thought, if I get them out of the way, that's a big chunk of the kind of bad guys done for Curse City then.
Give Dave a hand painting his rats then.
Yeah, but no, they're really nice models. I don't know if you've seen the bats closely. Some of the bats haven't got much in the way of facial detail. The bigger ones do, but because of that, they're really quick. Essentially, again, dry brushing, contrast on the fleshy bits, and then in the video, Nick used flesh colours on the kind of fleshy bits. I've gone a kind of step over that, done the same colour, so Bugman through to Kislev, but then I've put a Druchii Violet wash over it, just so they kind of fit in with the rest of my vampires, because obviously I've gone for a purple skin tone. So I kind of have that purple going throughout the army just to tie it together. So we'll see how it goes. Scriver says, I'd expect an hour a day. I mean, that's still 6 hours of reveal, so that's really cool. So, I guess... should we expect more for 40k, other than Orcs and Sisters?
Well, I'd like to see. Yeah, we know Sisters and Orcs are coming. We'll probably see all the Orcs tomorrow, won't we? And all the Sisters this week. Sorry.
Yeah, I thought so.
It'd be cool to see what's coming after that, because obviously the Orcs and Sisters have been, and the Admech to an extent, have been previewed over the last couple of months. So it would be nice to be surprised as well.
Yeah, I mean there's massive reveals, so yeah, I'm sure they've got some surprises for us. Big question from Grim Dan in the chat. Matt, silly question. I'm not sure if you know. If you don't know, if you know, me and my mate had our first AOS game in a long time, and he had 2 Stormcast characters with the same ability. The one that brings a model back with 1 wound after being slain. Can they both use it in the same turn on the same model? So normally things like that in AOS, the rule is if they're within range of a model with this rule, which means that even if there's 2 models near them, they'd only get the benefit once. That's normally how stuff's phrased. Off the top of my head, I don't know that exact rule, but if you look at the battle tome, they're normally phrased like that to kind of stop you from taking advantage of multiple ones. I don't remember any recent ones where you'd get the benefit stacked. So yeah, I'd expect only to do the one time. Anonymous Rex, I think the 40k one being split into 2 days is going to be a sign of a big release. First one being add-on to the Admech and Orc releases, and the second being a big drop. Yeah, I'd like to see the first one being some details of the Admech Codex and the Battle Tome. So, the Codex and details of the units and some of the rules on there. And then obviously the rest of the Orc and Sisters characters and how they're getting released, whether it's presumably a new codex or a supplement book or whatever. And then the second day, I'd like to see brand new stuff we haven't seen before, because that'd be really exciting, wouldn't it?
Definitely.
Like I say, I think the second part of Warzone Charadon, I imagine we'll see sooner than later. And speculation is that it will have demons and Grey Knights. I know you're interested in Grey Knights, Jay.
Yeah, I am, yeah.
And it would be good to see even a new kit for them or a new character or something.
Yeah, I think they do need something because they've not had anything for a long time. And obviously the regular Space Marine armies have had tons of reinforcements. So it would be cool.
Some kind of Primaris-sized Grey Knight unit would be ace, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Scriver, I'd love to see the next army. Yeah, I'd like to see. We mentioned it on the stream last night, didn't we? A roadmap for what the next 3 codexes are going to be, even if they don't go into details, just so we've got an idea.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a good way of doing it. Book 2 is going to be Be'lakor, right? They haven't confirmed anything, but just I assume so from the fact that we haven't currently got the rules for him in 40k. So that either means that there's going to be a Demon Codex sometime soon, which we haven't really seen any sign of. However, there are a few new Demon kits. We've got the twins from AOS, so presumably have some kind of unit in 40k. And obviously Be'lakor himself. If he's not in a codex, yeah, I'd expect to see him in Warzone Charadon Book 2 with his rules, a kind of mini army list maybe, and then to tide us over until the full Demons Codex comes out.
Yeah, he could be like one of those armies of legend or whatever they were called.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good way of doing it until the Demon Codex comes out. That lets you make you a kind of proper demon army. Yeah, certainly exciting. I've been furiously painting demons, so yeah, I'm super excited to see what they might get. Grim Dan, how amazing is it rolling dice again? Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. We managed a game the other week, didn't we? When the sun was shining. And unfortunately, the weather's been a bit random this weekend, hasn't it? It's going from sunny to hailing within 5 minutes.
Yeah,
so
you can't risk setting up your army.
But I know we've got, what is it, the 17th that you can play games inside again. So yeah, very much looking forward to that. Because yeah, I want to get some games in with the Legion of the First Prince for AOS.
Yeah, my plan is to get 1,000 points of these guys ready for the 17th.
Nice. Scriver points out that on page 41 of the Book of Rust, Be'lakor's army's there with the army blanked out. Yeah. The demons are kind of mentioned within the narrative as well quite a lot. So yeah, I expect that's what we'll see next, with the sisters and the Grey Knights also mentioned. And this is why I say we could see a Broken Realms Teclis situation where sisters get some new units within the next part of that book, but then they have a kind of updated codex at the same time. I think that's quite a good way of doing it.
So if you've got the existing codex, you only need to buy Charadon 2.
Yeah, that's the way I'd do it if I was in charge of such things. But yeah, I think that's a pretty good shout. Also, there's mention of the Dark Mechanicum in the Book of Rust. There's mention of Traitor Guard. There's loads of cool stuff that could be teeing up new stuff in the future, which I'd love to see. I don't know about you, Jay. New armies would be really fun, even if it's kind of stuff that we've seen in the past, like Traitor Guard and Dark Mechanicum. But they've never had a kind of full-fledged force. Exodites would be cool. Yeah. Oh, space dinosaurs with lasers. I mean, that's possibly the coolest concept for an army, isn't it? Right, so I am just going through these guys now, painting the details on the bases.
What's that? 15 minutes it's taking me to do the trim on one.
15 minutes to do the trim. Oh no. Scriver for squats. Yeah, squats would be cool. I've always said I'd do a squat army if they came back. Squats are cool. Even silly squats with the trikes and stuff.
I like the exo armor. They'd just be ironbreakers in space. Big...
Do you need anything more than ironbreakers in space?
No, that's it.
Would you be tempted for a squat army then, with your love of all things dwarven?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, anything new like that is always quite appealing to start, and but it all depends on the models really. But yeah, if they've got this heavily armored sort of, I mean, Ironbreakers really are my favorite kind of dwarf. So if they resemble anything like that, then it's a no-brainer.
Ironbreakers
Uh,
with big guns.
yeah, the Iron Drakes have got a lot of them painted up. Um, but it'd be interesting to see what they do with them because I think they'd have to maybe because they've got a bit of history. Are they actually were they in the original background Imperium?
They are part of the Imperium. They fight for the Imperium. They are their
Yeah.
own independent alien race, though, aren't
Oh,
they?
so they're not abhumans.
Oh no, I think they're not. I think it's changed.
Yeah.
I've got a feeling that they are currently their own kind of alien race, aren't they?
Yeah. See, that's it'll be interesting because I don't think we need another Imperium faction. Really, there's a lot. It'll be interesting to make them into their own alien race, but then you've got to sort of explain where they've been and why they've only just reappeared, just like they did with the Tau.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
traditionally they were an Imperium army fighting alongside the Imperial Guard and the Space Marines, and a lot of the weaponry was kind of made by them as well.
I mean, one thing they could do, which would might be quite interesting, and is obviously I believe the squats were annihilated by a hive fleet, if I recall, which is
Mm.
sort of the explanation that was given why they disappeared. And we sort of know the Tyranids arrived from outside of our galaxy. So could the squats also arrive from outside of our galaxy, which would explain why we've not seen them previously? Maybe they're chasing the Tyranids or fleeing from the Tyranids and they've arrived in our galaxy or something like that.
I think
So that
I think there is mention of the squats though. It's
oh,
kind of
there
like
is.
established that they are an extinct race. Now it could
Yeah.
maybe go the other way, and I don't know, elements of the clan that maybe escaped from our galaxy and have come back. Would be maybe one way of doing it.
Yeah. I mean, they've got options, haven't they? So it'd be nice for them to do something new.
I mean,
Um,
so something entirely new rather than squats.
well, I don't know. I don't know. I guess my point that I'm getting at is that I wouldn't want to see another Imperium faction with las cannons and heavy bolters. I would like them to
Yeah,
be something a bit distinct.
yeah. Grimdan says, Matt, you have every army already. I don't have every army. I have a lot of armies, but not every army. Yeah. It's a bit of a running joke, isn't it? Every day this week, I'll be like, yep, I'm starting them. And most of them I probably will. Yeah, I just like shiny new models.
Yeah, see, I'm trying something new this year. I'm trying to just stick to one army at a time.
Well, what are we? A third of the way through the year? You've done pretty well so far.
Done pretty well so far, but like you say, it's going to be a tough week. Now
Really is.
I've resisted the orcs. I really like the look of the orcs. They're really nice. I like that. The stuff we've seen so far looks really ace. But I'm quite content for you or Dave to put those really ace models on the table and for me to just enjoy them that way.
Yeah.
So
I think it'd be quite nice to have a little sub detachment of them to fight with my my speed freaks.
yeah. The Adeptus Mechanicus, I've never been that drawn to those, so I won't be jumping to start an Adeptus Titanicus Mechanicus army. Likewise, sisters, I do like the sisters, but again, I think I can resist sisters, even though those exosuits and the new are these Celestial Guard or whatever they're called.
The Celestants.
Yeah, with the big axes.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
really cool.
they do look really nice, but I think I can probably resist them as well. Now, if we see Kragnos is a bit of an unknown quantity for me, because if the models are really nice, and that could be what. So I have to be careful. I have to remember my New Year's resolution.
Yeah, and that's it. I think Kragnos is the biggie, isn't it? Because it could be literally anything.
Yep.
I mean, we assume a new destruction force, but there's been lots of reasonable arguments for something Kernothy-like. Which I guess you'd be all over then. I suppose the question is, if Kernothy dropped, would you have to stick to your guns and finish your Lumineth?
Oh God, I'd struggle. I'd really, really struggle to do that. But I'd have to. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm loving the Lumineth and I'm loving painting them. So I do want to get these guys done. Maybe what I might do is I might just pick up the Battle Tome initially, and then make sure I get my Lumineth army first painted before I start building and painting. Because there's no rush, I suppose. The models aren't going anywhere. So
no, that's a good way to look at it. They're not disappearing, not selling out or anything, are they? And if anything, you beat the kind of crazy first day rush. Like with Bellicor, I think he sold out fairly instantaneously, didn't he?
Yeah, well, I mean, he's an incredible kid, isn't he? I think. I wonder how many people just bought Bellicor as their first ever demon.
Yeah, well, no, it's like with the Curse City vampire, not the Curse City, the Underworld vampires. A lot of people bought them who'd not played Underworlds or Age of Sigmar. Just because they're really nice models. I'd be interested to see the sales figures for that, because I think most people I've spoken to have either bought one or want one just to paint the models. Grim Dan says, you guys heard about the rumours about the new rules for AOS 3 charge reactions, etc.? Yeah, so there's a video that was up on YouTube. When was it? Last week, Jay? Or the week before?
Yeah, I think it was last week, wasn't it?
Speculating, well, not speculating, he said that he'd seen the rules and discussing things like charge reactions and a few changes. And it all sounds really interesting. Obviously, we don't know how genuine this is, but it seemed... This definitely seemed possible. Charge reactions would be really cool, especially if it costs you a command point. So if there's limitations on how many times you can do that, and it makes you make some difficult decisions about which charge reaction do you do you keep hold of your command points. I think that'd be a good change for the game.
Like you say, the trick is there to make it not an easy decision. You need to have options. They did a good in 40k with the Overwatch changes where one unit can Overwatch. Okay, you've got some abilities you can use that can maybe make more than one unit Overwatch in some codexes and things like that, but generally it's only one unit.
And then that gives those units a bit of an advantage, like the Doomstalkers for the Necrons. They're a really nice kind of charge deterrent because you know that they can Overwatch you. But generally speaking, I think that'd be really good. You can do some really interesting tactical things then, like fleeing from a charge to stay on an objective. It'd be cool.
Yeah.
I think if Andy's still in the chat, Andy Woods was saying earlier, that seems a bit gamey and surely you should lose the objective. I don't know, if you had, like a light skirmish unit, why wouldn't they fall back into cover while still in range of the objective just to stop this massive unit charging into them? Because then the opponent needs to make sure that they're going to make that charge. Your longbow charge is going to be less likely then. You need to kind of make sure you're in a decent position to definitely catch them.
Yeah, and it also depends on we don't know what the full... Obviously, we don't know what's changing with objectives. There may be some changes to the way objectives are held and captured. And also, there may be some things we haven't seen yet with the fleeing rule. So like you say, I think in the video they mentioned some sort of constraint based on the distance of the charging unit. So if you're very close, you can't flee from them. It's already too late to flee or something like that.
Because it makes those armies that can do those turn one alpha strikes with everything deep striking and then charging a bit riskier, because then you could potentially leave half your army out of position.
Yes. That's it. Yeah, the alpha strike has been a problem really for a while, I think. So.
Yeah, I think that sounds pretty cool. Again, it could all be bobbins, but definitely seems possible.
Yeah, and I think I'm wondering whether in 40k we've got this concept of is it objective secured? So only troops can capture. I wonder if we'll see something similar in Age of Sigmar.
It's the only thing like that. It'd penalise stuff like Sons of Behemoth, but then they'd probably have a special rule like they currently have, where they can, they can always score.
I don't know whether that's needed. It might not. It's just speculation. I know that there's talks of changes to the way battalions are created. So I don't know whether we'll see more battle line on the battlefield.
That I'd like to see. I'd like to see something like the detachments in 40k where you don't necessarily need, 3 battle line. There could be different ways of building your army, but those will have benefits and drawbacks. So one of the things they talked about in the video was the fact that command points you come back each turn, and they're more like what are they called, relentless discipline points for the Ossiarch Bone Reapers, where
Yeah.
you've got a resource that kind of ticks up every turn, and then you can use them to spend on, I guess, essentially stratagems. We said
Yeah.
yesterday it'd be cool if you could use those pre-game, like in 40k, to buy command traits or artifacts, relics, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I did see something today as well about unit champions being able to use command abilities.
That would be cool.
Yeah, so that's obviously a lot like the Ossiarch Bone Reapers as well, because I think they need a unit champion to use their discipline points, don't they?
Yeah, that's really cool, because that means How many times have we been in a situation where you can't auto pass a battle shock because you're just out of range of a hero?
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good. I like the sound of that. Hopefully we see some more this week. Do we think realistically, do we think we're going to see 3rd edition this week, or do you think they'll wait for Kragnos to get released before they kind of talk about that properly?
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I think they will wait for Kragnos to be released first, because who's going to buy Kragnos if there's a new edition of the game coming out potentially?
Yeah, because if I'm trying to remember back, when we saw Pariah, I think it's when we saw the first Indomitus trailer, but at that point we didn't really know it was Indomitus. It was just the Necron hieroglyphic wall talking about the Silent King and stuff. I think it all merges together. I hope we do see some stuff though, because yeah, I'm super excited for the next edition. Grimdan also would love to see unit coherency from 40k come into AOS. Yeah, I agree. One thing I don't like about both systems for a while is big conga lines of troops kind of fencing off areas of the battlefield with a big line of guys. It just doesn't. I don't know. Aesthetically, it doesn't look as good as big blocks of troops, does it?
No, it doesn't.
And it's just a bit. So anything that kind of discourages people to do that, and yeah, looks a bit more exciting on the battlefield, I think I'd rather see than that. Andy Wood is in the chat. Did somebody say ogres? Grimdan, better terrain rules. Again, absolutely. I'd like to see more. Again, more like we've got in the current edition of 40k. Because I'm not going to lie, when we play like casual games, and a lot of the time, even in tournaments,
Yeah.
kind of you look at your opponent and like, do you want to do the terrain rules? And it's normally should we not bother?
I think the reason why I just don't like you, it's just more to wrap your head around and remember during a game. You've got all your allegiance abilities, your command abilities, your combos and things like that, the opponent's army, and then you've got to realise, oh well, that's that, and this terrain's that. Yeah. They need to do something else with terrain other than those. Yeah, I don't know what
they base it on the scenery piece rather than a random ability.
Yes, definitely, yeah.
Because then it makes otherwise it's like you say, it's looking up stuff during the game, isn't it, and remembering what everything does. When in 40k, after a couple of games, it's a bit more intuitive, isn't it? Because okay, well that's
you know what a ruin does.
Yeah.
You see ruins all the time in your 40k games. You see barricades every game. So yeah, you get used to what they are.
And then having those kind of like universal traits that you can apply to your own scenery that you've made, or have a nice combination of stuff. Yeah, that's one big thing I'd like to see, because I don't think the terrain's quite as interactive as it could be.
Oh, look at that. It's dead on past. Another 15 minutes for another model.
That's not bad going, considering you're painting elves. I mean, I've nearly done, what, half an hour in, I've nearly done these bats and rats, but it's all good. Oh, Dave is in the chat. How you doing, Dave? Are you all good? I hear you bought some Skaven. So Grimdan doesn't look as good, and it's just gaming. I guess that's about the strings of troops.
Yeah.
Gaming for gaming's sake. Andy Woods. Terrain doesn't really play a part in AOS. Grimdan, I think with Sigmar there isn't any standard terrain like in 40k. Okay, but you could have a set of kind of fixed rules, and then each terrain piece that you can buy from GW has some associated rules with it, rather than rolling randomly. And then for your kind of own made scenery, you can just pick out of those rules which ones apply best. I think that'd still work in AOS as it does in 40k. Dave says, nice one, Jay. All good here. Hope you guys are doing well. I cannot confirm nor deny. That means Dave bought like 3,000 points of Skaven. Is normally how it goes.
Yeah.
Grimdan says, good idea, Matt. Yeah, I mean, we might not see that. That's just something that I'd like to see, really. Right, so we've got most of the base colours down on these bases. So what I'm going to do now is give them all a bit of a wash. We'll paint the rims while they're drying, go in for a few highlights, put some tufts on, and I think we're good with these bats and rats. That's not bad going. And then I think over the week I'm going to start painting the zombies to get them done. Because if I can get a decent quick scheme for the zombies, I've already worked something out for the skeletons, then I'm halfway there for my grave lords, aren't I?
Yeah, that's it. All your battle line.
So, Anonymous Rex, a rule that lets models fight first if they're charged in cover, like an attack of opportunity, yeah. Or, maybe a defensive position where your Overwatch, for want of a better word, is more effective. That'd be pretty cool. So what about you, Jay? Is there any like big changes you'd not that necessarily that we're gonna see, but what would you like to see if you were designing AOS 3? What would you get rid of? What would you change? What would you add?
I think the biggest one for me is, we spoke last night, is extra use of all of that rules content in the battle tomes, your extra artifacts and your generic command traits. So I'd like to see them appear more in a game. In terms of gameplay itself, yeah, I'm not sure. I think a change to the character targeting rules is required.
Yeah, I agree. I'd literally like to see the 40k rules shifted over.
Yeah.
Stop you from sniping out those characters.
But yeah, other than that, I'm pretty open. I enjoy Age of Sigmar. I think it's a good system. I like the priority roll. I wouldn't want to see that disappear or change.
Yeah, now a lot of people don't like the priority roll, but I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah. I mean, most of the games we have, most of them are really close. But we're not really playing a game that's over in round 3 or 4 generally ourselves. Even at the Purple Sparkly Unicorns, probably over half of my games have been knife edge.
Yeah, events as well. I think I've probably only had one game that was over in turn 1 at an event. I mean, to be fair, we don't go to
no,
the big GTs or anything. I'd like to go to one, but I think the scenarios are pretty well written on the whole, aren't they? To make things balanced.
And I know one of the things they were saying on the video last week was that is it turn 3, the person who goes second can destroy an objective or remove an objective, because they've seen lots of that by turn 3. Whoever wins the priority roll in turn 3 has got a very strong position there. And their reasoning was that by turn 3, most of your units are pretty close, within engagement range to fight and charge.
Yeah.
And you're more spread out for all your character auras and buffs and things. And whoever can take advantage of that situation, and generally it's the person who can go first in turn 3, will most as an advantage there to try and win the game. And they say like the pro players try and manipulate that, so they would go second in turn 2 to prevent that double turn in turn 3. You know, if you go first in turn 2, there's a chance at the beginning of the battle round 3 you're going to get double turned, and that can just, you know, really cripple your chances, which is something I've never considered before. How to obviously you can't manipulate the turn order because it's a dice roll, but you can try your best to be in that position where you can't get double turned in turn 3. And it's an interesting, like I say, it's almost like a mini game itself, isn't it? Determining when to take priority and when, because you may think, oh, I have to take priority here because otherwise that unit's going to die. But then you think, well, hang on, can I afford to lose that unit? Maybe I can. Okay, yeah, I will go second now, actually. I'll sacrifice that unit for the good of the game, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's playing the long game, isn't it? And sticking on your objective, and even if you use that unit, it could still win you the game by holding up where it is. We've got Wookie over on YouTube. Evening, how are we doing? Glad you could join us for the painting tonight. Grim Dan, can't wait to come to the Purple Sparkle Unicorns events. Got the pass from the boss. Excellent. That is good. September, I want to say the next one is. Obviously, COVID permitting.
Yeah, it's been planned for September, isn't it? I think it's at a different location as well.
Yeah, it's at Element Games.
I've never been there.
No, and considering, you know, they're one of the show sponsors, we really should go, shouldn't we? Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a big venue, and that's dangerous having an event at Element because, you know, all those
with your discount
20% off toys, yeah. But no, that'd be good. Steve Parver 77. Hi guys, hello from Italy over on Twitch. How are you doing, Steve Parver?
Hello.
You had a good weekend. How are things in Italy right now? We were hoping for a gloriously sunny bank holiday weekend here in the UK, and while it's been quite nice today, the weather has been a bit erratic, hasn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't look good for the rest of the week.
I think tomorrow, last time I looked on my phone, it was a 99% chance of rain tomorrow. So otherwise, I'd suggest maybe us having a game of Warhammer in the garden, but don't think that's going to happen, I'm afraid, this weekend.
I like those ads.
Yeah. So in the chat, what's everyone up to? What is everybody painting? What's everybody looking forward to in the preview events? Is there anything on the pre-orders next week that you want to get? Like I say, I'll be buying those orcs to paint up as part of my Get All of Underworld's Painted challenge. And the punchline is, Jake, that's not even on my hobby resolutions. It was one that was nearly going to be on it. So is that realistic? But I've managed to keep up with them so far.
You've
I'm in
done
the
all
last
right
stretch
so far.
now, aren't I?
Yeah, there's only one more warband, isn't there, after this?
Yeah, so...
Oh, hang on, no, you got the Assault Bone Reapers as well.
Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah, so there's 3 left. And technically, do I include the 2 out of the starter box as well? Because technically they're new warbands for this season.
Yeah, well, I would include them. You got them painted anyway, didn't you?
Nah, I haven't painted them. They're still in the box. I did the review, and since then I think I was working on the Crimson Court, and then Curse City dropped.
Oh, right, I see what you mean. Right, you mean the Stormcast and Nighthorn?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I thought you meant the Lumineth and Slanesh.
Oh no, they're long painted. They're long painted, Jay.
Yeah.
So I think technically, I do need to include the Stormcast and Nighthawk in my challenge. Nighthawk won't take long to paint. I can paint Nighthawk pretty easily. And Stormcast, I'll do him Celestial Vindicator colours just to wind up Dave.
Doesn't he paint the Nighthorn up and say, "Here you go, Dave. I painted up some Celestial."
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, there's a lot of Celestial Vindicator banter in the chat the last few days. Grim Dan says, being Element once, nice venue in the area isn't too bad. Andy Woods confirms that the 25th and 26th of September is the next PSU event at Element Games. Steve Parver, today quite good. The last week, very rainy here in north of Italy. Unfortunately, the COVID situation is slightly improving. So yesterday we played our first Curse City mission. Very funny, amazing. I'm really looking forward to us playing Curse City. I kind of want us to get... That's why I'm kind of powering through all this stuff. I want us to get all the components painted before we start our game. And when we do it, I think we'll probably stream it or film it, won't we?
Yeah,
so
definitely.
you guys can play along with us. So that gives me 2 weeks to paint the rest of this and enough characters for us to play through at least the first mission. You've
Yeah.
painted the wood elf, Dave's done the ogre, so I might paint up the paladin and the priestess lady, and then we've got our kind of first party then, haven't we?
Yeah.
So yeah, looking forward to that. It looks really cool. I know a lot of people have been a little bit disappointed that it's out of stock, but hopefully, one day they bring it back when all the kind of printing issues are resolved. I think that's one thing we might not see at the preview. Supplements for that, maybe, if it's an issue with printing the card components,
Yeah, I think so. I
which
think
is a
they might want to
shame,
keep a
but
bit of a low profile with that for a while.
I think so, yeah. Yeah, it's a shame because it is a really cool game and the model's
Yeah.
nice. Hopefully,
Yeah.
though, we see, I don't know, start collecting Soul Black Gravelords with the content of Curse City.
Yes.
Andy Woods is about 50% through my Gatebreaker. You're rattling through these Mega Gargants, Andy. Are you thinking of taking them for the Unicorn event, or are you running it? I quite fancy facing the Mega Gargants, having played them. Grim Dan, just finishing up the Palatine for my sisters and doing loads of terrain for Garden Hammer, the Battle of Covert Pass. Amazing. Dave says, I've almost finished the Witch Hunter. Have the Priest Lady and the Big Bad Guy, forgot his name. Radigar the Wolf, primed and ready to paint. Awesome. Yeah, well these guys are nearly done, so I'm just waiting for some washes to dry on the kind of scenic bits on the bats. So if I paint the rims of these, and then by the time I've done the bats, should be able to do the highlights on the bat ones, do the rims of them, put some tufts on, and we're done. What are we in? 40 minutes so far. I may have to find something else to paint during this stream if I get that far through it. They're really quick to paint these though. Obviously, I was painting for a couple of hours on the stream last night, and about an hour before I started, I just wanted to get some of the kind of base washes down, so we weren't sitting on the stream waiting for them to dry. But yeah, really, really happy with how they've turned out. Again, just following Nick's guide. I'll probably do that for quite a lot of the stuff in the box, just to get through it ASAP.
Yeah, the minions like that, you can just, like say, pretty quick, aren't they? You take your time with the lieutenants and things.
Yeah, exactly. Andy was. Andy's running the tournament at the minute, but he's the spare player, so we'll have his Gargants for that. That's cool. Anonymous Rex, I'm always impressed by others' paint speed. I think my record is 1k points a year painted. Hey, even one model a year painted is still, progress. It's still getting the backlog cleared. I made a pact with the Dark Gods many years ago, giving me supernatural painting speed. But I'd say that.
What is the Chaos God of painting?
The Chaos God of painting, yeah, Duncan Rhodes, I think. But like you, Jay, I think your quality of miniatures is higher than mine because you're,
I don't know. I think. I mean, look at Bellicor. He looks awesome.
But he's a single. So a single centerpiece model, I'll tend to spend a bit more time on, where I'll cut corners with the kind of rank and file stuff.
Yeah.
Where I think you'd take the time to, like your Lumineth, you're giving them some attention, making sure they look good, aren't you? Even though they are just the battle line.
Yeah, well, that's it. That's the OCD in me. I think I'm not happy if it's not perfect, because they're not perfect. But I like to paint them to as high a standards as I can, and that just takes a bit longer. Unfortunately, I mean, like here, I'm 45 minutes in, and all I've done is half an hour in. No, 45 minutes in. I've done three trim, and I've got 30 more of these things to paint. So it's going to take a while, I think.
But they'll look ace when they're done.
Yeah, well, I'm really happy with how they've turned out, and like I say, it doesn't matter how quickly or how fast you can paint them, as long as you're painting them.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. And even if you're not the most confident at painting, give it a go. It's even somebody's first model is better than just bare plastic, isn't it?
Yeah, it's one of those things as well. Is that just practicing it and doing it, you get better and better.
Yeah, I mean, Dave's not on the show today. I think he's still in the chat. But Dave did a really good post last year or possibly the year before now. If you are in the chat, Dave, could you whack your kind of post on how you've kind of improved on painting up? Because it's a really good article, and I think it's safe to say that Dave was always a little kind of anxious about his painting. Didn't feel the best at it. Didn't necessarily enjoy it.
No, he
And
didn't
then
used to
over the
enjoy
last
it.
few years, yeah, Dave's started to enjoy painting. He's picked up new skills. He's taken to contrast like a duck to water, and
Oh
really
yeah,
enjoys using that.
Yeah, if you his Iron Jaw army is amazing. His Uruks, they're really really nice with the majority contrast. He did a good job with his Tyranids as well, and even his more recently his Nurgle stuff has been really really good.
Yeah, the Death Guard. His Ad Mech looked really nice as well.
Yeah. And his Ogre, that Ogre he painted for Kersey, I think that's my favourite model Dave's ever painted.
Ogre's turned out really really good. Really impressed with that. So yeah, and that's someone who even 2 years ago would have said you've often just not felt you can get an army done in time for a tournament, and I think we've I suppose bullied you to get some painting done, haven't we? But yeah, I'm really looking forward to when we can paint together in person, because it's been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has.
And it
Yeah,
is
we used to
quite
have the
nice.
sessions around the table.
I mean, obviously it's nice doing it virtually, but there's just something about sat in a room painting together, isn't there?
Yeah, although I think this is quite good. I don't know if I prefer this as well, because you've got everyone chatting in the chat at the same time.
Well, this is it, and you've got your own desk and your own setup.
Yeah.
So this is probably ideal. And we were saying after the stream yesterday, we tend to get a lot done on this, even with chatting to everybody in the chat and looking after all the technical side of it. We kind of tend to rattle through stuff. It's quite constructive, isn't it?
Definitely, yeah. I find it very useful for I consider this sort of the foundation work, the robes, the white armor basing, the trim. I'll get to the point where I'm applying like edge highlights to the plumes and painting the gems, and that's the sort of detail work. I'm yet to find out how well I'm going to manage that on the stream, because I tend to concentrate like doing eyes and things. So we'll see. But certainly for this grunt work, as I call it, it's really really, because it can be a bit monotonous, kind of a bit boring when you're just painting like 10 shoulder pads and another 10 shoulder. So but having someone to chat to and the community to sort of respond to, and it passes the time. Yeah. Doesn't feel like so much of a chore.
That's it. I've tried to do a few detailed things on here, and unfortunately it doesn't really work so well for the stream if I'm being quiet and focusing on some highlights and stuff.
Exactly,
so
yeah.
but for getting all you can like base colours down on your washes, and like today I've just pretty much been painting bases. It makes it more enjoyable, doesn't it?
Yeah. So you do a lot of painting, Matt. You painted a lot of armies. But I don't know. Have you done many conversions?
Have I done many conversions?
Or
yes,
many modelling projects? And Be'lakor sitting on a Silent King's throne doesn't count as a conversion.
So I have done some conversions. So let me see if I can reach them without destroying the studio.
Because that's an element of the hobby. You see on Twitter a lot of people posting different conversions and things, and it's almost like another sort of talent, isn't it? Like another sort of stream of the hobby, painting, gaming, and converting. And I sometimes think to myself, it'd be so cool to convert an army, a really unique looking force. But obviously there's a lot of effort that goes into that. And I think there's also a skill as well in making them look like natural sort of conversion as well.
So I'm probably about 20 seconds ahead of you, Jay, but if you look to the screen, I converted up most of the vehicles in my Orc force. So this is based on a Goliath with Orc truck parts and then just random bits that I had.
I remember that. Yeah, that was cool.
And there's a few others in there where I've kind of repositioned them, changed them up quite a bit. So there's a truck here using, I think, spare parts from that same Goliath. So I added a kind of like grinder onto the front of it.
Yeah, so that's like they're quite subtle conversions, aren't they?
Yeah,
But they
nothing massive. I'd like to do. I've always fancied doing a kind of over the top converted army. I don't think I've got. Oh, actually, I do have a converted model. That's a bit less subtle if I can find her. Yes. Boom. So, do you remember the old Chaos Lord on the snake thing for the Slanesh?
yes, I do. Yeah.
So back when AOS 1 maybe came out and early editions of 40k, you could actually take that, in your army. So I converted up a Demonette riding it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I'm really happy with that. I can't use it in any current games at the minute, but I still really like the model. And it's weighty because it's a metal model from back in the day.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, I was quite happy with that. So that's probably the most complex conversion I've done. I mean, that's not really that much complex, is it? It's just essentially replacing the character riding on it with a Demonette.
No, but I mean, that's still, to me, you've made that look like it doesn't just look like two random models stuck together like Toy Story style. It actually looks like it could be a legitimate model. So that's a successful conversion in my opinion. But yeah, I mean that's on a model per model fitting in with an army, which is cool. But then you could take it to the next level and convert an entire army, which obviously, I'm thinking like some good examples might be like a Rebel Grot army. I've seen quite a few of those conversions.
And
they look really cool.
Rebel Grot's something that I've wanted to do for a long time.
Yeah.
Also, Cities of Sigmar. I've always been tempted to do something different with them. Guard, unique guard regiment like Chris Peach has got his Ventrilian Nobles, which are kind of built around Empire troops. Yeah, something like that. It'd be really cool to do. That's a big project, though.
It is, and that's it. It's not just a painting project, is it? It's also it's a lot of work going into sourcing the parts and even trying to get all the different unit options converted, different things. I've often thought about how you could approach like an Eldar Exodite army in that way. And I mean, I've only ever thought about it. It's only ever gone to that stage. How you'd represent. I mean, what book you would use? Dark Eldar maybe would be a good fit, or
Dark Eldar,
Harlequins or something, or even Craft World Eldar with.
You could do and use, dinosaurs as the various grav tanks, maybe.
That's it. But
pterodactyls as jet bikes.
It's never left the thinking about it stage for me.
Yeah, I'd love to do something like that. I think it'd be really fun. But no, it's nothing I've done. Rebel Grots I've got very close to doing, but like you said, doing properly, you'd want to convert up the entire force, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean,
and that's it. Do you go with the Imperial Guard rules or the Orc rules?
Yeah, that's it. That's the other decision you have to make. I've seen a good. It was at a Purple Sparky Unicorn Storm actually. It was a Custodian army, but it was Custode Orcs or Custode Orcs or something. That was a really fun looking army. But that was a really Custodian. Good. Yeah, it was a Custodian Guard army. It was almost Rebel Grot as well because it was Custodian Guards with an Astra Militarum command point battery, which was made up of the Loyal 42 Gretchen. Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, I'd like to do a Rebel Grot army.
Rebel Grot, and do you know what else I'd like to see as well? In the same sort of, on the same sort of subject line, really. The Grot Riggers.
Sky Pirates, using Caradrons and then pirate ships and stuff.
Yeah, that would be cool. In fact, that should be the next Destruction Army.
It should be. It should. I think it very nearly was a Forge World army before the Forge World AOS team disappeared.
Ah, what a shame.
Yeah, it is a shame because that just sounds all kinds of amazing, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Anonymous Rex says there's a guard army that has dinosaur cavalry. That's cool. Wow. Rough Riders with dinosaurs.
Yeah, so you could use like cold ones, couldn't you, from the Dark Elf range, or even the Seraphon range?
Quite well. The the Seraphon ones are a bit chunkier than the Dark
Yeah.
Elf ones, and I think for the chunky guardsmen, you're probably better off with the Seraphon ones, maybe.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to remember if the legs are molded to them. I can't remember now.
Not sure.
Bit of a conversion project anyway. But yeah, I'd love to do something like that. That'd be really fun. I remember a while ago I was thinking about doing a Vampire Count's army, funnily enough, with a Coven throne turned into a pirate ship, and then the kind of vampire pirate on the back of it.
Yeah, well, vampires were a thing for a while, weren't they?
Yeah. So maybe that's something I can bring back for the Soul Blight Gravelords, maybe.
Yeah.
Andy Woods says he's got pics of those Orc Custodians.
Orc Custodians, yeah, I played them actually. What was that? What army was I using? Eldar. I was using me Craftworld Eldar. I think they beat me.
Eldar. I didn't have the pleasure of fighting them. I'd have liked to have fought them.
Yeah, they're good. I fought some good armies actually in that tournament because it was I fought a. Oh, actually, no. It was Craftworld Eldar I used against the Orcs, but we had another tournament where I took my Harlequins. Must have been 1,000-point tournament one day, and I must have been 1,000 points. So I only got 1,000 points of Harlequins. I went up against some Silver Salamanders.
Silver Salamanders.
Yeah, that was Andy the Sarge's army. That was a fun game. And the other armies, the Custodial Orcs, and I think it might have been Blood Angels.
There was a nice Gene Stealer Court army that you faced.
That was with my. That was with my Custodians actually. It was. That was a really nice army. Yeah, it almost looked like the Studio army.
Did it? That's cool.
Similar sort of colour scheme. Yeah, that was a good army.
That's ace. Dave says, I think we'll see Vampire Pirates for the Old World.
Yeah, the Vampire Coast. Good call, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, that'd be ace. So, obviously, converting an army is one thing. What about a kind of concept army? So, Notley did a army of Seraphon made out of stone and painted them more as such. I've seen Death armies painted in black and white. Have you ever thought of doing a funky army like that? I know we were talking about the Curse City stuff, and there's been a few good schemes where people have painted them in the red and black scheme from the box art.
Yeah, they look really good. Yeah, and I think that's how I'm going to paint my baddies up for Curse City actually, because it seems like a really quick colour scheme, but really stylish. It looks cool. I won't be using them in games as an army to fight on the in Age of Sigmar, so I can get away with that. I think that does look really cool. I thought of some unique colour schemes for different armies. So I think Wood Elves painted in the style of Night Elves from World of Warcraft. That's how I used to paint my Wood Elves
that's
back in the
something
day.
You've kind of toyed with. In fact, we did have a moment where we were going to each make an army themed around World of Warcraft, weren't we?
Yeah, and I think that could be quite cool.
Yeah.
Especially if the Order of Vizier actually come out, because they would look like Stormcast Knights, Stormwind Knights, really, and things like that.
Yeah, they would. I'm interested about the Order of Vizier. I'll probably pick up those 2 Witch Hunters, because like I say, I've got a Cities of Sigmar army, so if there was some Order of Vizier stuff, they'd slot in quite nicely.
I love the memes for those 2 characters, the dad jokes.
Yeah.
Are we there? Oh, look at that. Dead on the hour. 4 done.
4 done. That's 1 every 15 minutes. That's not bad going.
Well, I've got 6 left, so I'm not going to get them finished on the stream then. So it's a bit optimistic me getting all my other paints out over here, wasn't it?
Yeah. But hey, it all comes together in the end.
Well, that's it.
We've got a day off tomorrow, haven't we? In fact, you've got the whole week off.
Got the whole week off.
Shocking.
like to take advantage of the bank holiday weekend, and then I always sort of have me birthday week off. Normally we go up to Warhammer World, don't we?
We do. Yeah, we've got a few birthdays coming up, haven't we? When's Dave's birthday? That's May, isn't it?
That's beginning of June, Dave's is.
Oh, June. When's yours?
Mine's on Wednesday.
Wednesday. Oh, yeah. Okay. What do you want for your birthday, Jay?
You can come round and give us a hand painting gold trim.
Yeah. They'll bring me Sharpie.
Oh, Sharpie. Why don't I think of that? Yeah, could have tried that, couldn't I?
Yeah, do that on all my Titans.
It looks good as well.
And the wash works quite well over it as well. And then you can edge highlight it with, what's the silver?
Stormhost silver.
Stormhost silver, yeah. Yeah, you know, we would normally go to Warhammer World, wouldn't we? This week, and sadly that's not a thing. But you know, we'll make up for it when we can. I know Dave's chomping at the bit to drive to Warhammer World. We've not been able to go since he passed.
Nope.
Must have passed his test just before lockdown.
Yeah.
What a strange year it's been.
Are there any? I know you've got some armies that you're thinking about buying there, but are there any existing armies that are currently out that you're tempted to start?
Armies that are out that I'm tempted to start.
Yeah, so you know, like you're talking about Space Wolves, I suppose that would be one example.
Yeah.
Is there any other army that's been out for a while that you never picked up at the time, and you're thinking, oh, maybe I might visit that?
That's a hard one because I've got most armies, haven't I? I have toyed with Skaven in the past, just because it's a Chaos army that I haven't got, and you know I do like my Chaos.
You should actually. That's a good point. You should at some point do it because like you say, you can't be a true servant to the Chaos Gods if you've only got 4/5 of the Pantheon.
This is it. So yeah,
how can you command Archaon if you can't even command a faction of Chaos?
Nobody commands the Skaven. They do what they like.
No, that's a good point.
I suppose I've got a Chaos Space Marine army in boxes that I'm kind of hesitant to build because I'm sure at some point we're going to have a new Battle Tome Codex.
Oh, this was your Black Legion because this was you sort of got into painting the Sons of Horus, didn't you?
Yeah. And I got the Christmas Battle Force for a good price around then. So yeah, I just get the feeling that I've seen a few of the books. We've seen some restrictions on weapon loadouts and stuff. I kind of want to just hold fire and see what's in the new book before, because I've got so much stuff to paint anyway. I don't need to worry about building them straight away.
I find as well sometimes the prospect of a new codex and new rules does sort of get you a bit more excited about a particular army that, you know, like, you know, Grey Knights, for example, I'm umming and ahhing. If there was a new codex out in a month's time, then maybe I'd be a bit more, oh yeah, I think I will do Grey Knights actually.
Yeah. And, you know, that's one of the reasons why we don't see stuff too far in advance, because if you knew an army was out in 3 months, you wouldn't buy anything, where if you didn't, then you might pick up some stuff. Which, you know, makes sense from a marketing point of view, I guess. What have we got going down in the chat? So, Dave says, I bought Jay Arkin the Black for his birthday. I can mix. Hi guys, just wondered what the trickiest model you found to build has been. Mine has been one of the Deathcore Krieg las cannons. Trickiest model I've ever built, the metal scrap launcher for the ogres. I don't know if anyone else has built that, but yeah, the sky was blue that day. It was not a enjoyable build. How about you, Jay? Anything that you've found frustrating to build?
I'm trying to think recently what I've built that's been a bit frustrating to build, but I can't. Probably that Bloodborne on the Curse City sprue, that the only bit that wouldn't go together properly.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair,
well, it wasn't.
The kits are well designed nowadays, and they tend to go together really nicely, don't they?
Yeah. I think
Forge World kits are a bit fiddly, I guess.
I was just about to say that, yeah. Some of the Forge World bits can be a bit difficult to build. But I've not built much Forge World recently. And to be fair, a lot of the newer Forge World stuff, actually, the instructions are much more improved compared to the early stuff.
Reaver Titan was built not in complexity of the model, but more so some of the parts were a little bit warped, so it was just, put them under hot water and get them back into position.
Or
especially when it's
prep
a big model like that, a little bit of misalignment can make a big difference, can't it?
Yes.
But no, other than that, old metal kits are horrific. Some of the old plastics where you don't even have part numbers, you have to just have a bit of a diagram.
Yeah.
But on the whole,
I tell you what, I know what I can say actually. There's been one of the difficultest kits to build.
Yeah.
Lumineth Dawn Riders.
Oh, right, okay.
The models are amazing. Really nice cavalry. They would slot into an old world high elf army. On square bases, they're brilliant. They're exactly what you wanted from elven cavalry. The models themselves, mold lines on every part. I've never built a Games Workshop model that has so many mold lines. It was really, really poor. And they are just tricky to build. They're very fiddly. They're very delicate. So yeah, those guys definitely.
Yeah, I mean, most modern Games Workshop kits are built in such a way that the mold lines are kind of hidden. So it does surprise me that they're so bad.
Oh, I'll show you, Matt. They're really, really poor.
Interesting.
I didn't know if it was just one batch maybe that's bad, because I got all my Dawn Riders in the launch box, so maybe they corrected it for the later.
I suppose I wouldn't expect it, because that'd mean like recutting the sprue and stuff, wouldn't it?
Right. Yeah. Oh man, they're really, really bad.
I mean, sometimes you get some mold slippage, don't you, in some batches, but you don't really see that much from GW kits at the minute.
Let me see if I can find some Dawn Rider sprues in a second.
Yeah. I'm not even on the main screen. Let me switch back. So Grace here says, wasn't Nick B extolling the virtues of metallic Sharpie on his Titan on the stream this week? Yeah, he was. In fact, I stole the idea off him. I messaged him asking if he knew an easy way of doing trim on Titans, and yeah, he suggested the Sharpies. So yeah, thanks to Nick for that one. Anonymous Rex, if I could paint well, I'd do Skaven. I think Skaven can be done easily with a base coat and some dry brushing, or
Contrast.
Contrast, yeah.
Contrast and dry brushing.
Yeah, I think you can do some Skaven and cut some corners and get them painted really quickly.
Yeah, just your unit leaders, your standard bearers, your musicians. Just spend a bit more time on those guys, picking out the eyes and such. Obviously your characters, but when you're painting like units of 50 clan rats, yeah, I wouldn't. I'd make maybe 1 in 10, 1 in 5 look a bit better than the rest.
Yeah. Yeah. You thankfully don't need to spend too long on them. Dave's off to get some food. Catch you guys soon. Cheers for stopping by, Dave. Anonymous Rex says the Iron Strider Ballistari was the hardest model that he's built. That's the AdMech Chicken Walker thing.
Oh, got you. Yeah, I like that model. Yeah, I've never built one, but it's difficult.
I've built one, but can't remember how it was to build. It was a while ago now. Andy Wood says, I once built 21 Spirit Hosts. I'm not going to lie, I almost rage quit. Yeah, Spirit Hosts. I've done about 9 of them, which isn't too bad.
How do you get your ogre hands around Spirit Host models? I don't understand. But Andy only built ogres.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember them being a bit fiddly to build, and I'm not going to lie, not the most fun. They're really nice models, though, to look at.
Well, on the flip side, then, what's been your favourite model to build?
Favourite model to build? That's hard. That is hard. Favourite model to build
that you've enjoyed putting together? I know mine.
Go on, you start.
There's been no other experience like building this model. It's amazing that everyone should build this model just because it's incredible. It was Abaddon, because normally you build a model and you're putting parts over parts, and there's no detail under those parts. When you're putting the two sides of like a Dawn Rider together, for example, they've only really got detail on the lower half, because on the top half you've got the character on top and the barding and things. The Abaddon model, it's almost like you're. I don't know if you've seen the StarCraft 2 first reveal cinematic with
Where they put the armor on.
Yeah, it's like that. So you see all the Under Armour, all the undersuit, and the plugs in the black carapace and all that sort of stuff, all the cabling, as you're gluing on the slabs of Terminator armour on top. Really, really fun model to build.
My desk. Abaddon. I need to build him. But again, I'm waiting until they've got a book.
Yeah, but I mean, if you look at the sprues, you'll have a really good time building Abaddon. He's really, really fun.
Oh yeah, looking forward to doing that.
Not built a model like him, like where I've enjoyed building something. So
That's cool. I think my most enjoyable kit to build would probably be 98% of Curse City. Just how quickly and easily it all went together, except that one Bloodborne, which you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, apart from him.
The rest of it, it was just so easy to build. Didn't need to use any glue apart from that one model. Yeah, I really enjoyed doing that. And again, it's a weird one because I mentioned the Titan for a fiddly model, but it would have to be the Reaver Titan as well, just for that's probably the biggest model I've built, I want to say.
Bigger than your dragon?
Oh, maybe.
It's got to be close, isn't it?
Yeah, they're very close.
They're probably similar weight.
Yeah, the Reaver was probably more fun because obviously it's fully posable like the Adeptus Titanicus one, so you've got the leg to position and all the pistons to put into place. That's really quite fun to do on a big scale. But yeah, it's heavy when it's all built, and I fully glued them. I didn't use any pins or anything. I know a lot of people have put bolts in the hip so you can have it removable. I just glued it all together because I'm a madman. The Nevermore says, "Good evening, everybody. I hope the hobby is getting along better for everyone else than for me this week. Also, happy late 4th birthday to the channel. What have you been working on, Nevermore? Have you not managed to get stuff done this week?" Steep Arthur, one of the very funny models to build, very well made, are the Ambots from Necromunda. Yeah, I've not built one of these, but I really want to. They look really cool. I think you get 2 in the box.
Yeah. There's 2 versions of this. There's the Ambot, isn't it? Is the mechanical, and the Ambull is like the alien creature, isn't it?
That's it. Yeah. So the Necromunda kit, you get 2. You get 2 of them with slightly different poses, I believe, in one box. I might have to build some for my Necromunda collection. I Can Mix. Have any of you built Belisarius Call? He looks a nightmare, though a great looking model. No, I haven't built him. I would probably leave him in sub-assemblies to paint him, just because if you build him and just stick him to the base, I think it'd be really hard to get to the kind of detail parts. The same with, I've got a Keeper of Secrets that's on my stack of stuff to build, and I think I'm going to have to do the same with her, leave all the kind of like kind of dress element separate, just so I can get to it. Otherwise, yeah, I know you paint a lot of stuff in sub-assemblies, don't you, Jane? It's sometimes hard to get some of those details under like robes and cloth and stuff like that the Keeper of Secrets has in abundance.
I don't go bonkers with it. Some people separate all sorts of stuff. So I think you made a good point a while back where if you can't see that piece on the model, then don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's normally my logic. If you can't get a brush in there, you probably can't see it.
So, I mean, these guys here are completely built, apart from the shield. And I'll leave the shields off because they are easier to paint the shields on the sprue separately. And obviously it's harder to get to some of this trim detail, which you can see behind the shield. So other than that, the whole model's been put together. There's probably a good argument for leaving the sword off the back of these guys.
Yeah.
But then all that's under the sword is robe.
Yeah.
And if you can't see it, don't worry about it. So I don't.
Do you ever leave heads off models?
Yeah, on Space Marines I do. And the reason I leave the models on Space Marines is so that I get good angles at the eyes, the lenses really, which is the important part of a Space Marine helmet. Normal heads as well. If there's a bare head, I will tend to leave that off as well. So for the same reason, you can get to the eyes and the features a bit easier.
Yeah.
But I mean, these guys are all well in helmets, so I just stuck the heads on.
I've
There's no Space Marine lenses on these guys.
all my Sons of Horus, I left the head separate again, just so you can paint them, because sometimes the like the collar on power armor can get in the way a little bit, can't it?
Yeah,
And it's
kind
not
of.
one of those where you can't see it. You can definitely see it. It's just fiddly to get to.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, like you, I don't, unless it's something that is really visible, and it depends on the base color you use as well. Sometimes if you've primed them black, you can get away with leaving some of that detail black, but like with, say if you primed them white, it can stick out like a
Yeah.
sore thumb. Especially if you're using contrast or something, and stuff pools there, or it can sometimes look a bit messy, can't it?
I tend to leave riders off their mounts as well. So cavalry and things I'll paint separately.
Yes. Yeah, I'd completely agree with that. It makes it a little bit easier, doesn't it?
Yeah, sometimes you're using sometimes different base colours for the rider and the mount. And some of the legs and weapons and shields and things can sometimes get in the way.
Yeah, definitely. So, Anonymous Rex, Bellistari, you've got to cable all the legs when the model's almost done and they don't hold. Plus, there's way too many pieces. Remind me of building an airfix tank. Yeah, there are a few kits with an awful lot of pieces.
Have you ever been put off doing an army purely because you can't be done with the hassle of putting it all together? You know, like. I know you did your chariot army for Slanesh, although you persevered.
I did, and it was a slog, and I did get close to throwing in the towel, and I don't think I'd ever build another Slanesh chariot. But the army looks cool, and I've got two of the Shadow and Pain boxes, so I've got two more chariots that I could build as the harvester, the kind of the wide one.
Yes.
And I've got like 3 of each of the other variant, and I've only got 1 of those, so I will get around to painting those at some point. But yeah, it's going to take a lot of willpower to do that, because it is a soul destroying kit to build. I can't believe I didn't mention that in the worst kits to build. I must have just blanked that from my memory, because I built about 9 of them. They do look really cool, and that Herald on the Exalted one was quite tasty, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was good.
The Nevermore says the most enjoyable kit to build would probably be the Cainite Shadow Stalkers. I thought building them would be horrible, but the parts are made so good that they almost assemble by themselves. Yeah, they're a really cool looking kit.
Yeah, this is a warband I want to pick up. It's a Warcry one, isn't it? Actually, yeah, I do.
Well, it's Warcry, but it is in the Daughters of Cain book.
Yeah, I do like those models.
Yeah, they're cool. Steve Parver agrees the sprue is very clever. The Nevermore reinstalled Overwatch 2 last weekend and sunk every spare minute they had into it. Hopefully my hobby spirit returns soon for my Silver Tower minis. Yeah, I was doing the same kind of after painting with Cyberpunk. So I know Cyberpunk's had mixed reviews. I really enjoy it, and I started a new character who... My first playthrough, I was doing a kind of net runner, hacker, stealthy, take out an entire building of bad guys without stepping foot in the place. It was really, really fun. So I wanted to do my second character with a kind of completely different play style. So I've just gone for a big brute with a shotgun who just runs at things and shoots them in the face. Which again is nice, mindless entertainment. And also, I was in the conservatory today and spotted my SNES Mini.
Oh yeah,
so
yeah.
I realised that my monitor's got, as well as the DVI port, it's got like 3 HDMI ports. So I thought, I can fit the SNES up here. So I was playing Super Mario World earlier.
Oh God, I've got some memories of that game. I've got a SNES Mini as well myself, actually. Super Mario World. Me and Lee used to play that all the time.
Yeah, I had to turn it off, otherwise I wasn't going to get any paint done on these guys. I was like, no,
yeah,
off the games. Otherwise,
I'm a bit
quite happily played that all day today.
Yeah, I'm worried because Dark Tide's out soon.
Dark Tide, yes.
I worry that if that comes out before I finish my Lumineth,
You're not finishing the
dear.
Lumineth.
It's going to take me a lot longer to finish my Lumineth.
Yeah, but
I mean,
but on the
Overwatch
plus
2 is a
side,
good one.
Dark Tide is Warhammer content. We could do some playthroughs on the stream of that, even if we're not painting.
Yeah. That's right, yeah.
Nevermore is also super excited for the upcoming Necromunda video game. Have you seen that, Jay? Necromunda first-person shooter.
Oh yes, that was leaked, wasn't it? Wasn't the video for that leaked?
The video leaked, and then they kind of quickly put the official one out after it.
Yeah, that should be interesting as well. There's a Sister of Battle VR one that I've been tempted to try.
It looks a bit pants.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm not too sure on that one. It might be good. I don't know. I'm not entirely feeling it myself, that one. Right, so let's have a quick look. What we on? 20 past 8. Should we have a bit of a quick progress update?
Yep.
So there is. I don't know if you can see that yet. My bats. So they are following again Nick Baton's guide. Start off black, dry brushed up Corvus black, and then through some greys, contrast on the body, and then flesh colours on the face, and then washed down with Drucci Violet. Just need to do the rims and some grass on them, and they're done. And then the rat swarms, similarly, are following Nick Baton's scheme, and I'm really happy with how they came up. Nice bit of variety to the rat swarm to make them look a bit more interesting on the table. So
I'm just looking at the diet bat at the moment, Matt, on the screen. I really like it. I really like the candles as well.
Cheers, yeah. I thought I'd give a bit of paint on those. So what have you got there, Jay? How have you got on so far?
So this is Warden number 6 of 10.
A little bit higher, Jay. There you go, perfect.
You got him, yeah.
Yeah, I love your Wardens. I mean, I can't imagine how long it'd take for you to paint all of these Wardens.
Well, I mean, at this rate, if we're doing 2 streams a week, I think that's enough. That those 4 hours, 4.5 hours, will get the majority of the sort of base on them done. After this, it's sort of shading, a bit of edge highlighting, but the bulk of it's done, the boring bit. So I think if we're doing 2 streams a week, I think I can get 10 of these painted a week over the next 3 or 4 weeks. I can get my 40 Wardens done. So, by the end of May, I reckon I'll have all my battle line done.
Nice.
Which is all right.
So what were we thinking? A Sunday stream and a Tuesday stream we were talking about, weren't we?
Yeah. So I think I'll be all right for that. Now I think I've got to decide what to do after these 20 Wardens, because I want 1,000 points as soon as possible, and obviously 40 Wardens aren't going to be in 1,000 points. So I think after I've done these 20 Wardens, I'm going to paint 10 Stone Guard. So then I've got a battle line of Stone Guard and Wardens for a 1,000-point game. And I think actually, if I can get the 10 Stone, I'll have to do my sums, but I think that's 1,000 points. These 10 and 10 Stone Guard is 1,000 points.
Excellent. Yeah, that's good going.
Yeah. And then I think I might paint some cavalry before I come back round to the other 20 Wardens. And then after that, then it's all. Yeah, then after that, it's the cool stuff then. So I can paint me Wind Spirits, me Wind Mages, and the Wind Chargers. And then I've got a bunch of stuff underneath my desk here that I've not even built yet. So I've got me artillery pieces I've not built, and me standard bearer that I've not built. So I can add them as like at the end of the army, and because I probably won't be using them in every game, but I can slot them into some narrative games that we play, perhaps.
Yeah, that sounds really fun.
Got this massive thing to paint as well. Somewhere I've got to slot this in. I don't know if I can get this on the camera.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, you could do a lot of that with dry brushing, I guess.
You can, yeah, and you just have to approach this in sections, I think. So spend some time painting this piece, and then you've got the stone, the water, and the top here. So,
if I was doing it, I'd do the archway in red like a Japanese Torii gate.
Yeah. Now, that's not a bad idea. Yeah, maybe a bit of colour might look good actually. I was going to paint it, so if I just bring Teclis across, you can see Teclis has got one on his base, so I don't know, is that in shot? Can you see the base?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, so I was going to do it in that style.
Oh, I never realised that's what he stood on. That's an interesting design thing.
It's not identical, But this is a bigger version on Teclis' base. There's some
Yeah.
extra detail down here that's not on this one. But it's very similar. Even the you can see here the metal like grid thing.
Yeah. Gotta say, your Teclis looks really nice there, Jay.
Oh yeah, cheers. I enjoyed painting Teclis. He's not 100% done. I want to touch up these horns on the Selenar, and I've got to finish highlighting the back of his cape as well. But I got into a stage I was happy with, so I can go back and touch him up at the end, I think.
No, that looks really cool.
Not used him in a battle yet. I'll have to use him in a game. Imagine we can pit him against Nagash in the Teclis book when we start playing.
This is it. So I think when we can, I reckon we start playing through the Broken Realms scenarios. So there's 4 books, 6 missions in each. That's what, 24 missions. That will keep us going for a while, won't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Andy Wood says Mass Effect Legendary Edition is out soon. You need to get the Gargant done before that.
Oh yeah, that keeps popping up on my Steam wish list.
Were you a fan of Mass Effect, Jay?
I never played it, but I want to play it, and obviously with the remastered version coming out, it's probably a good time to pick it up. But that seems like a right time sink, and so I think I'm going to avoid it. Avoid it until I've got no models to paint, which I don't think there's ever going to be a time like that. But it's like I say, you've only got so much time for hobby, and I think we're almost to the point now where we're going to be able to start gaming and stuff. So it makes sense to sort of spend a bit of time on my collections to get them ready to use.
Yeah, well, that's why ideally before the 17th, I want to get all of Curse City painted.
Yeah.
So as much as I want to crack open that Scar brand that's behind me and get some paint on it, sensibly, I want to try and get this done because it's all about getting the stuff ready for the games, isn't it? I can always do Scar brand after that, and I've got plenty of demons to use for the time being.
Yeah.
So yeah, should be cool. I can mix. I love the Lumineth models. Great work, Jay.
Oh, thank you very much.
Andy Woods asks, how many Sentinels have you got?
Oh yeah, well this is it, Andy. Right. So I own 30 Sentinels. I've not built any of them yet. So every single battle report I watch is just Teclis and as many Sentinels as he can legally fit into the list. And on all the groups I'm a member of, that's the only sort of viable build that they say Lumineth have got. I like Sentinels, but for that reason, I'm not using them. So when we go to the event in Element Games, I won't have a single unit of Sentinels in my army. When I fought you, Matt, I didn't take a single unit of Sentinels.
No, you didn't.
No, so I want to avoid that sort of. The other side is, to me, the War Scroll, they seem like they're too good when you take more than like 50 of them. But if you've only got 10 of them, it's not worth taking them. You're doing what, 1 or 2 mortal wounds. I just think, it's not really worth. And the most expensive, they're 140 points compared to the Warden's 120. So I think with Sentinels, you have to take a lot of them, and at that point, then it becomes unfun for the opponent. And if you're taking too little of them, it's not an effective use of your points. So they're in a tough place. I'd like to see
fix would fix that, or do you think it's more something wrong with the War Scroll itself?
I think they either need to bring in a system like in 40k where you can only have 3 of the same unit. So you can only take 3 units of Sentinels in an army, tops. Although you could still take 60 Sentinels, which would do some work, I think.
Yeah.
Or I think they need to, and this might be controversial, they need to change the way their shooting works. So I would get rid of they don't need line of sight ability. I would perhaps make that your unit champion can shoot something out of line of sight if he sends his owl up. So he could do potentially a mortal wound on a hero hiding behind a rock or something like that, or D3 mortal wounds on a hero hiding behind. But the rest of the unit needs line of sight. But then I would probably increase their effectiveness of just their bows at units they can see. So then if you've got a unit of 10 of them, I would give them like 6+ armor save, but make them shoot twice each, 3+3+ -1 rend 1 damage at 18 inches. So, they're an effective ranged unit, and you can take them in units of 10 and march them against an objective to whittle an opponent down as you get in there, and then your cavalry slams into a weakened foe. But they've only got a 6+ save, and they have to be visible in the open to actually use their bows. So an opponent could counter that and deal with them. But that's obviously a massive change to the War Scroll. In the current form, I probably won't take them. I can't see them being used in any of my lists really, because I'm not prepared to invest in like 60, 70, 80 Sentinels. It's just not the kind of list I want to play. And if I've got 140 points spare, 10 Sentinels is really the last unit on my list of things to take. I'd rather take an Endless Spell and a unit of Stone Guard or something like that.
Yeah, that's a very honourable choice, Jay.
So yeah, it depends how often I get beaten, and then I'll be ordering more Sentinels. But I really like the models as well, which is a shame. I do think they are nice models. I think if they like I say, if their war score changed a little bit so they weren't so broken in high numbers, I think I'd be and a bit more useful in low numbers. I'd probably then would take them then to complement. I'd have like a unit of Wardens, a unit of Sentinels, and a unit of Cavalry as my battle line choices, perhaps.
Yeah, no, you're right though. I'm not a fan of units that are just so ridiculous. It's like I say, it's not a fun game for either player, then, is it?
No.
You don't want to just take somebody's army off the table without any challenge, and equally you don't have your army taken out with no chance to stop it. So it's difficult, isn't it? Now again, we might see some stuff in 3rd edition that counters that somehow.
Yeah, and like I say, character targeting rules, I think, as well. I think if there was a change to the character targeting rules, I think all those people taking 80 Sentinels would have to rethink their strategy, because that wouldn't work anymore.
Yeah.
They're when you've got 80, 90 Sentinels in the list and they're doing mortal wounds on 5, re-rolling all their hits, they can pretty much point and click, delete 1 or 2 units a turn without even having line of sight. Don't know, just seems a bit. What can the opponent do about that?
It's a little bit strong. Steve Parver, I don't know if you have spoken already. What's your guess about the mystery reveal on Saturday? Initially, I think it will be AOS 3, but the AOS preview is tomorrow, so I have no idea. So, I mean, that is a good guess. They could have the AOS reveal tomorrow, just focusing on Kragnos and the vampires, and then on Saturday do a animated trailer like they did for 40k. We were mentioning, I don't know if we were broadcasting or not, but we were mentioning earlier that is something that they could do in the same style as the awesome animated teaser that they did last year.
I'd love to see an animated trailer for Age of Sigmar.
Yeah, and then that way we were saying that they wouldn't show off AOS without showing off Kragnos first. But if they do that on the tomorrow's show, Kragnos and the vampires, all that out in the open, and then do AOS on the Saturday.
Yeah,
possibly an option. That'd be cool. The other thought we had, I don't know if you listened to the podcast, Steve Parver, but we've speculated that maybe something Horus Heresy related, a new Heresy starter box. I think it'd be really popular. We mentioned maybe the Old World, but we think it's a little bit early in the timeline for that.
Yeah, Old World is what I would like to see, and I would like to see something. We've seen the different maps, we've seen concept art, like sketches of some of the Kislev units and things. I would like to see more like substantial reveal. Perhaps some actual models.
It would be. Even if it's a year away, it'd be nice to see. Like they did with the Sisters of Battle, and they showed off some of those early sculpts. Yeah, that'd be cool. And they could have a few. They could have a few things on that Saturday. I've got a feeling though that it'll be dedicated to one thing.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Age of Sigmar 3 is probably a good bet, or Horus Heresy even. Yeah, those two there.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be anything for 40k.
No, I don't think so. Especially since we've got 2 days of 40k reveals as well, haven't we?
Yeah, and I don't think it will be a specialist game like Battlefleet Gothic, for example.
No, and if they did, they'd probably show that in the boxed game section anyway, wouldn't they? Which is on Thursday, I want to say. Or maybe together.
Oh man, imagine if they announced Battlefleet Gothic.
What would Battlefleet Gothic do to your elf painting, Jay?
Well, I mean, oh man. I would be putting the elves down to paint up some spaceships for sure.
Yeah. I think I'd be joining you with the spaceship love. Did Dave ever play Battlefleet Gothic?
Let me think.
I know your brother Lee did, didn't he?
Yeah, Lee was a big fan. I don't think Dave ever did. I think he had a little Tau fleet at one point, but I don't think he ever used it properly. Me and Lee have had loads of games over the year. Orcs versus Imperium. I used to use my Eldar a lot against Lee, but the Eldar were a bit. They broke a lot of the rules. They were a bit crazy good, especially against Orcs. So I didn't get to use the Eldar that much. I have all my Battlefleet Gothic upstairs. I got a massive Corsair Eldar fleet, so all the old metal resin forge-rolled models they did as well.
Nice.
I don't have the Eldar space station, the Spire station, whatever it's called. I'd love one of those, but they're quite expensive now if you go on eBay.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think if Battlefleet Gothic was announced, I think it would be like Titanicus. It would be Imperium versus Traitors.
Yeah, with the duplicated sprues.
Yeah, which I don't mind too much because I do like the Imperial. And obviously, if it was a Horus Heresy setting, it would be all the old Heresy era ships.
And yeah, in Resin you have stuff like the Vengeful Spirit and the Phalanx, and that'd be cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so I wouldn't mind a Battlefleet Gothic set, just Mankind's armies. But then I would like. I think that's one of criticisms of Titanicus is it's great we're getting all these new Titans, and the War Master is an amazing model. But did the game really need a War Master Titan? I mean, can they now not start bringing other races into that game?
I think they can now. I think once we've got the Corrupted Titan, I think that's probably all the model support for the the Heresy forces, isn't it? And at that point, they can start looking at Orcs or Eldar. I suppose that's the nature of the specialist games because they've only got a limited sprue budget, haven't they? It's kind of unfortunately the Heresy box is a good idea because you can use the same sprue for both armies in the box.
Yeah.
And obviously Heresy is popular, and it means that it will take a couple of years to get everything done, but after that you can then start moving on to other stuff with a new starter box. But yeah, I'd really like to see Battlefleet Gothic. That'd be really ace.
Just seen on the chat there, I Can Mix. Do you guys varnish your models? So I never used to varnish any of my models, but I use varnish for a couple of different reasons now. So if I'm building and painting a metal miniature, I'll always varnish it now in the hard coat out the pot. I don't use the spray varnish. I use it comes in a pot that looks a bit like that, but I always do that to protect it from chipping. You don't get many metal models nowadays, but for other systems like Infinity, for example, I will always varnish it. But I also find that sometimes when I'm using some of my glazes and my washes and different things, especially the white armor on some of my Lumineth as well, where I've used like thinned dryad bark to shade into the recesses of some of the crevices, it can leave like a sheen, and a coat of varnish, hard coat, dull like matte varnish, sort of takes that sheen off it as well.
Well, Joe, for a word from our sponsors, Instar actually do a kind of a matte additive that you can mix in with your paints to give it a kind of nice matte finish.
I shall try that then, yeah. Because it's that sort of. I found a lot as well when I'm painting robes. So not so much on these guys actually, but I've used a different recipe on these guys. But when I did the Indomitus Space Marines, I have a special trick to painting and shading the robes, and it basically involves a dryad bark, not a dryad bark, a Xandri dust sort of glaze or into the recesses, but it can leave the tabard looking a bit shiny. So I put a coat of hard coat over the top of it to just tidy it up. But I will try that matte additive actually, because I might just do because sometimes
just take the sheen off, which is pretty good. And obviously, there's times where there's a use for a sheen. I did a Tyranid army a couple of years ago now, based around the Xenomorphs from Alien, and I had a mixture of gloss and matte paint to make up the different parts of the carapace, because they were predominantly black and grey, weren't they? But the different effects kind of broke up the model.
You've used it on your Slanesh recently as well.
Yeah, on my Slanesh. So the leather, the black, I've painted like kind of like gloss, kind of
and your
kind of colour.
Yeah, the Justarin.
Justarin, yes, I have. Yeah, so for kind of polished armour look, yeah. I also use it on my Nurgle stuff as a spot to make it look like kind of something icky glistening on the surface.
Yeah. I do sometimes use varnish on whites as well. So if I'm painting Space Marine veterans, for example, with white helmets and white shoulder rims, I will put some hard coat over the white once I've finished shading and highlighting it as well. Because I don't know. I just sometimes I find with the whites they can get a bit from handling them.
Yeah.
You can dull them a bit, and if you just put a protective coat over it, it keeps that bright white that you might be after.
Awesome. A load of activity in the chat. So Gracie says, I picked up the Warden, that was model of the month. Looking forward to doing something different. Andy Woods, if I do Lumineth, I don't think I take more than 2 units of 10 Sentinels. Gracie, would people be in favour of being able to put foot characters back into units, fighting with them, giving them bravery? Yeah, I quite like that.
Do you know, I was only thinking about that the other day because I've got my 10 Wardens that I've painted here, and obviously they've got a striking resemblance to the old High Elf Spearman, and the unit champion as well. He's armed differently, standing on a bit of rubble. He looks like an impressive character, really. And when I've got them sort of ranked up here in like almost like a formation, like the old Warhammer 8th, and I put him on the end. And the reason I put him on the end was if you got charged in the flank, your champion will be there with the extra attacks. And I'm thinking, yeah, you don't do that nowadays, do you? Your units just have to be within a certain aura. I would like to see your units join characters again. And remember with 40k, that was like one of the big changes from 7th to 8th.
Well, that's one of the things in Heresy, isn't it? Attached units, because it's essentially the 7th edition rule set.
Yeah. So yeah, I would like to see units, characters join units. That would be cool.
Yeah, I think that'd be fun. Anonymous Rex, epic Horus Heresy or Gothic they'd like to see is the secret reveal. Steve Parver, desperately waiting for Mordheim. Yes, absolutely, I'd love to see Mordheim. Gracie can see new models coming out. Anonymous Rex picked up Drop Fleet to give me a taste of Battlefleet Gothic. It is actually written by Andy Chambers, who did the Battlefleet Gothic rules, so it's very much a spiritual successor of Battlefleet Gothic, isn't it? A lot of the mechanics and kind of feel of it, even down to the look of the rule book, is very similar, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a good game actually. I like Drop Fleet. Like you say, it's very similar to Battlefleet Gothic, which is a good thing. It has some differences. No blast markers or anything like that. And it has an interesting sort of concept where you rather than fighting in deep space, you're fighting over the surface of a planet, and a lot of the missions are about. You can take a special kind of ship in your army that lets you deploy troops to the ground. It's about securing objectives on the planet's surface. Which is interesting, and there's some really nice model kits for it as well. I do like Drop Fleet.
Arguably, the ships aren't quite as iconic as the Battlefleet Gothic ones.
No, they're not. I mean, they are nice models, but yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we're Warhammer fans, aren't we? So it's you're always going to prefer that, and like it's the 30, 35 years of history that goes behind the Warhammer models. That's part of the appeal as well.
We're very attached to those models, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. Gracie can see models for the old world coming out alongside Total War 3. That is a very good shout, to be fair.
Yeah, but I mean
that'd be a nice marketing alignment.
Yeah. The thing is, I want to play Total War 3 as well. So will I be building or playing? I don't know. Could do with those games coming out separately myself.
Gracie says, has anyone found that varnish smooths out transitions? Models actually look slightly better after varnishing. Dave Soft, contrast seems like a mix of gloss and wash. Contrast can dry a bit glossy, so yeah, whack a kind of matte varnish over it. That'll sort that out.
Yeah,
Dave Soft.
Contrast is what.
Oh, sorry, go on, Jay.
I was going to say contrast sometimes as well. If you're handling models a lot, it can almost come off the model. I find.
Yeah. We quickly learned that you probably want to seal contrast models because I don't know what it is about it, whether the pigment kind of dries on the upper areas or something and it kind of wipes away with handling. Dave Soft, I can't make a good clean yellow. A glossy yellow might help. A good clean yellow. I tend to airbrush a lot of yellows and build up from that. What color? What color are you using as a base? Obviously, if you're going over black, I would probably paint in the area that you want to do yellow with a white first, just to kind of prepare the surface for it, because yellow can take a lot of coats if you're doing it over black.
Yeah, I tend to use mechanical standard grey if I'm painting yellow. So me Imperial Fists, although you airbrush the units, but my Dreadnought, for example, was mechanical standard grey and then just layered on the Avalon Sunset, is it? But it does
Avalon
take a lot of
Sunset,
finger.
yeah.
You just have to be patient with yellow. I tend to use a lot of glazes on yellows as well. So like believe it or not, I use the purple as a recess shade, and then the what's the Lamenter's yellow glaze, which you'd probably have to mix up in Instar now. I guess you could probably replicate that sort of
So
effect.
yeah, I mean on the Instar yellow is very good, and they do an additive that essentially thickens the paint, making it into a better base coat. Have I got a model to hand? I haven't, sorry. But yeah, that Instar yellow is really good. They do two, a kind of a darker one and a brighter yellow. A drop of that with 2 or 3 drops of Water Plus, you could get a pretty good replacement for Lamenter's yellow.
Yeah,
For Citadel alternatives, maybe thinner yellow contrast might work. You'd probably want to do it like 3 parts medium, 1 part contrast to get something thin enough, and then slowly glaze that up. I painted some test Imperial Fists when I was tempted to do an Imperial Fists army. I sprayed them Xandri dust, then highlighted up the bone colour, so a Shabty bone, Screaming Skull. So essentially like I was painting bone, and then glazed the whole thing yellow, and that was a really nice yellow effect as well.
yeah.
So yeah, lots of ways of doing yellow. It is a hard colour to paint though, isn't it?
It is tricky, yeah.
Greyseer, obviously I'm in no way biased by the sort of mechanics that Skaven could use to hide in units and avoid being sniped. Can they still do that or something similar now? I've not actually read the Skaven battle tome.
I
I'm
used to
sure
love
they've
them.
got some kind of mechanic where they can, lead from the back or something. It was
They
called,
did
wasn't
well.
it?
They used to, didn't they? My brother has a massive Skaven. I used to use Skaven in the old Warhammer system, and I used to love the fact that you could hide assassins in units, and also
Yes.
you could decline challenges as well. And I don't think you suffered the penalty that you would normally suffer for declining the challenge, but they did. They used to lead from the back. I think you could only really add your leadership bonus if you were in the front rank or something like that. But Skaven had a alternative way of leading from the back. And they could also shoot into their own units, I remember as well. You used to like
Yeah.
charge in a unit and then lob a load of poison globes over the top of them with little grenades.
Skaven are fun. I'm looking forward to seeing Dave's Skaven army. That he's definitely
Yeah,
doing.
it would be cool to see Skaven on the battlefield. Don't think I've ever fought a Skaven army in Age Sigmar.
Um,
Oh,
I
I
have an
have with my
event.
Sylvaneth. Yeah, at an event. I remember the
I think we
warp
fought the
lightning
same
cannon.
army. I think we fought the same army, to be fair.
I think you're right. It was a really cool Skaven conversion where he had all like mine carts and stuff and tracking that on the bases, and he had a couple of warp lightning cannons that just annihilated. I think they annihilated my Tree Lord Ancient because I think they have a rule. You just roll a dice and it does that many mortal wounds or something, or you roll
Alright,
lower
I
than
forget.
something, and it was.
They yeah, I like Skaven. They're fun. I don't know why I've not done a Skaven army myself, to be honest. I think it was just the number of models to paint put me off. Because it can be a bit of a slog, I guess, can't it?
It can, especially I think it's one of those projects as well that you need to start knowing that you're going to have to commit, a substantial amount of hobby time to. And if there's something on the horizon coming out that you know you're going to be interested in that's going to distract you, then it's going to be tricky to pick and start them up.
Yeah,
Whereas if
you're not
Dave's
painting anything else anytime soon, are you?
exactly, yeah. So hopefully Dave gets them, he likes them, and he does a good job with them. Then I think it's a good, a new army for third edition. I think that's a good sort of bit of motivation there to get them done.
Yeah,
Stick
new
with them for a
edition, new
bit.
army. There was talk of some tabletop simulator on the go tomorrow between Dave's Skaven army that he's written, and my Legion of the First Prince. So if you're around, Jay, I'm sure we can get some games on the go.
Yeah, definitely. I'll spectate that.
It's Tabletop Simulator with Skaven may take us a while.
Yeah, think about that. Make sure you group your units up.
Yeah, definitely. So I've nearly finished these, Jay. I'm just putting down the tufts of grass, and then yeah, I should have this unit done, ready for the end of the stream. So really happy with that. What else we got in the chat? So Grace here, I think they have a version of Lookout Sir that works in melee. Cool. In Warhammer Fantasy Battle, you could lead from the last rank to avoid challenges, and yes, lob poison wind in. Apart from Queek, you had to accept challenges but had +1 to hit and wound. That's really good. Grace here, I'm literally just now finishing up those storm vermin I mentioned yesterday. The downside is that I'm doing them to the best I can rather than a contrast all the way. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, it will look really cool. It'll just take you a little bit longer to do the army.
Yeah,
It's like we were saying earlier. You know, definitely nothing wrong with going all out on an army.
definitely not. No, I mean back in the old days when you were painting rank and file, you could just get your front rank looking fantastic and then not worry so much about the ranks behind it. Bit more difficult now in Age of Sigmar, but
You know
yeah,
what
I think.
miss? Unit fillers.
Oh yeah.
There's a little kind of kind of. I mean, you had to have less models and a nice little kind of scenic element to your regiment as well. That looked cool.
That was cool. I used to like positioning cavalry rather than all lining them up parallel with each other on their square bases. I used to sort of get them like leaning towards each other, so it was looked a bit more natural. Some of them in front of the others on their bases, so they didn't look so straight. Obviously, you don't need to worry about that in Age of Sigmar, but.
Steve Parva asks, which module do you use to play AOS and Tabletop Simulator? I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, I'm afraid. I think I just searched Age of Sigmar in Steam and installed the most popular one. I know that's a bit of a cop-out answer, but that's literally what I did. Unless you know off the top of your head which module you use, Jay.
Well, no, you just you can get, if you search in the workshop, you can find all of the battle plans from the General's Handbook, all of them from the different versions of the General's Handbook. And if you just fire that up, it creates a board with the scenery already on it, with your objectives already planted. And a lot of them have like the dice rollers and things and all the tokens and stuff you need as well. And then you have to search for your armies separately. So you'd find the Lumineth Realm Lords. I think actually Lumineth Realm Lords is in 2 separate mods. Construct your army, save them as an object, and then you can load those objects into any other game you've got running. So you open up your battle plan and then you load your army in.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to find an alternate for Bellicor, unless there's one. The other one might have made a Bellicor.
You may find there's already one there. Yeah. It is incredible how they do actually get them in. I don't know if they take them from the Games Workshop store or whether they.
Yeah, so I've seen certainly the Mega Gargants seem to be the heavy metal models, and they just scan the 3D image and skin it over something, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, we are 8 minutes left of the show, and I've just finished my bats and rats. So that's probably taken, I don't know, 2 hours today, 2 hours yesterday. I did an hour earlier as well. So what's that? 5 hours to get the bats and rats done. That's not too bad. I'm quite happy with that.
Good work.
Again, I haven't gone to town with highlights or anything. It's kind of a nice. I wanted to be quick but look good, I guess. Mid-ground between the two of them.
Yep.
So yeah, really happy with those. So let's switch over and I'll show you what we have done. So, obviously the sculpts, there's three sculpts of each set of rats, and then you get 2 of each. So there's the rats. We've got the based up to match the rest of my death armies, and some grass on there.
Oh yeah, very nice.
Really happy with how they turned out. They They've been quite fun to paint these actually. I was kind of dreading doing the rats because they're a bit fiddly and it's hard to base them because they take up a lot of the base. But yeah, I was pretty happy with them. And then if I take these out of shot, we'll have a look at the bats. And again, you get 3 different sculpts and then 2 of each of them. So you get the big kind of like leader bat. Again, fairly simple scheme really. Dry brush and then a bit of colour on the fleshy bits. But I'm quite happy with how he's turned out. And then on the other 2, they've got less detail on the faces. So I've just kind of spotted in some of those highlight colours just to kind of give the illusion of the faces on them.
Yeah, I like them.
Nice like kind of scenic details on the base itself. So yeah, so they're all done. So next job on the Cursed City painting plan are the zombies, and I need to have a look into how I'm going to paint them because I don't like them multicoloured. I think I prefer them all the same skin tone. Kind of a rotten green. I'm thinking I'll probably paint them similar to how I paint my Poxwalkers, to be honest.
I was going to say, yeah, I think your Poxwalkers would be cool. The Death Guard, because they're sort of they're very similar, but they've got some different like the lab coats and things like that to sort of break up the look a bit. So if you can do something like that, would be cool.
And
obviously, you've got like.
Oh, go on.
I was going to say, you've got the different gravestones, so you can do some more worn than the others, I guess, is it? You know, to vary the colour a little bit.
Yeah, that's it. So the clothes will be different colours and the stuff on top of them. I'm also thinking a bit of a grimy John Blanche feel by flicking some kind of browns and greys onto them when they're finished to represent the dirt and muck as they've pulled themselves out of the ground. So we'll see how that goes. I'll switch to your camera, Jay, if you want to show us what you have done today.
Yeah, so let me see if I can angle this down. Let me know if you can see all that.
I can see elves.
Yep, so there we go. I've got 2 left to finish this stage on, which is the Liberator Gold on all the trim. So another half an hour, I guess. I think I'll carry on. I'll have a quick brew, and then I think I'll just push on and get these last 2 done today, so they're ready then for the next stage altogether.
Nice, awesome. That's some good going. So. Let's switch back. Steep Arva, thank you very much. I'll try, no problem. I think they use programs for photogrammetry and use 360 photos of the minis from the GW website. Yeah, it's very clever how they do it.
Yeah.
Grace here says, great effort. Inspiring as always. Have a good Sunday and looking forward to the podcast this week. Cheers. So it should be a fun podcast on Monday that we record. So we'll be talking about the kind of, I guess, a general chat about sprues and brews. We'll be covering the first day of Warhammer Fest as well, so that'll be exciting. Should be a bit of fun. And what else are we covering on the show? Oh, we've got our top 3 sprues and brews moments. So I haven't put the tweet out yet. I might do that after the show. So if you want to send them over to Twitter with your top 3 sprues and brews moments, they can be from the podcast or streams or videos or, anything sprues and brews related. Bit of a self-indulgent one this week, but it's our 4-year anniversary, so we'll have a self-referential episode. It's fine. I Can Mix says, top work, fellas. Thank you very much. Really happy with these. I've got quite a lot painted this weekend, to be fair. I mean, it helps that it's a bank holiday weekend. Bellacor's taken me. I think I painted them over 3 days. It didn't take too long, really. A lot quicker than I thought he would. And then these guys, tonight and yesterday. So yeah, if I can keep up this pace, I should be on track to get Cursed City, the adversaries at least painted, ready for the 17th. I mean, what are we on now? The 2nd. Oh yeah, easily get Cursed City painted by then.
Awesome.
As long as I stay focused and I don't start building Scarbrands, which I really want to do.
Yeah. Unless as long as they don't announce the new Orc models are out for pre-order in 2 weeks' time.
This is it. This is always the danger of the preview. You can easily get distracted. So yeah, I've really enjoyed the Cursed City stuff. It's been really fun to paint up. I'm hoping that all these units get proper rules in the Gravelords, rather than the kind of make-buy rules that are in Cursed City.
Yeah.
Because bat swarms have always been a thing. Now these are on slightly smaller bases than the old bat swarms. I don't think there'd be an issue at all if they had them as, because a big base you can be quite sneaky with it sometimes, can't you? you know,
Yes.
for objectives and getting in the way of things.
Disrupting enemy movement.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily a bad thing that they're on smaller bases. The rat swarms, I want to say, are on slightly smaller bases too. And obviously rat swarms have always been a Skaven thing. I mean, back in old Warhammer, most armies could take swarms, couldn't they?
Yeah,
how much swarms you could take.
Yeah. And you've got the rat vampire guy as well, so I think rat swarms may be a good part of the army.
I think so. And if these are, if you could take bats and rats as a cheap battle line options, not a bad call. I mean, zombies are dirt cheap anyway, but it'd be nice to have, say if you had the new Rat King and then a load of rats, to be a fun army and something different.
Yeah.
And I've got a feeling that's probably how they'll do it. I think they'll have each kind of battle line unit, whether it be the skeletons or the zombies or the bats or the rats, again assuming that their battle line kind of behind a different vampire, so you've got a different feeling of an army. I think that'd be fun. Or you can just pick and choose and have, best of both worlds.
Well, hopefully not long to find out.
Yeah, well, hopefully tomorrow we find out. So, yeah, in fact, this time tomorrow we'll be talking about it on the podcast and getting very excited. Andy Wood says, having the stream in the background really pushes me to get stuff painted. Thanks, guys. Well, thanks for joining us. We do it because you guys are watching in the background, so we really enjoy doing it. But, alas, it is 9 o'clock already, so we hopefully will be back on Tuesday, Jay.
Yeah, definitely.
If we're free then. And I'll probably be painting some zombies then. So, yeah, same time on Tuesday if you're all free. Thanks again for joining us. If you are watching over on Twitch and you don't already, if you could give us a follow, that would be much appreciated. It really helps support the channel and gets the word out there. But yeah, until next time, we'll see you all later. And take care. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye.